Greetings, welcome to W8U3 Criterion 4 of SAR concerned with students' performance. This is part 1 of that particular criterion. Recap: in the earlier unit, we understood the SAR requirements of criterion 3 outcome based assessment OBA. W8U3 outcome is understand the SAR requirements of criterion 4 students' performance. We look at subcriterion 4.1 and subcriterion 4.2 in this unit, and the remaining part of criterion 4 would be discussed in the next unit. Primarily this is facts and data based. There is not much of any process orientation. So, the department can assess the marks that it is likely to get for this particular criteria if it is able to look at the reliable data that it provides. Criterion 4 is concerned with the student performance of the program for which accreditation is being sought. This criteria, its subcriteria, the required processes and the exhibits are all same for tier 1 and tier 2 institutes. Once again the same caveat applies, you keep checking the NBA website. The evaluations are provided based on the data that is given in the SAR. So, ensure that the data is correct, up to date and accurate, and if such a data is available, you yourself can determine how many marks you are going to get. Mostly it is objective and formula based. There is a subjective component, the visiting team's perception, but by and large this is based on the data. The total marks are 120 and there are 7 sub-criteria under this criterion. Enrollment ratio in the first year, fairly straightforward. Success rate of students in the stipulated period of the program. We will see what does it mean to say stipulated period of the program and success rate. We will look at all these things, but it is just data. The data that the department has to provide, and the data must be reliable, accurate and backed up by documents. Every data item that you provide must be backed up by appropriate documents. So, enrollment ratio, success rate within the stipulated period, then academic performance, first year, second year, third year. Fourth year is anyway final, they are coming out with the degree. So, that is captured differently. Then placements, higher studies and entrepreneurship, then professional activities. So, these are the 7 sub-criteria with marks as shown here, and extensive amount of data is required, and as I mentioned, ensure that all this data has supporting documents available for examination. It looks pretty big and all, but it is fairly straightforward. The concept is fairly straightforward. This is directly not for evaluation, but this is the data that is generally required under criterion 4. So, this is general information and various parts of it are used in different criteria. First, we have to provide the admission details for the program, excluding those admitted through multiple entry and exit points here. They will come elsewhere. Notice that NEP 2020 allows multiple entry and multiple exit points. Earlier we had only diploma students entering the second year as lateral entry students, but now NEP 2020 permits entry at any level. At the third year level also it is possible for students to enter the program, and they can exit the program at various levels, at second year, third year level, first year level, even after first year. So, if there have been entry and exits happening because of this criteria, that is captured elsewhere. So, in this table W8U3 admission details of the program, excluding those admitted or leaving through multiple entry and exit points. So, that we will capture separately. So, here CAY means current academic year, CAY minus 1 is the current assessment year which we are trying to assess, because which is the academic year depends upon what is the time at which the SCR is being submitted, and that we will discuss much later when we look at the prerequisites and the definitions of academic years and all these things, and how they consider the current academic year. We will later discuss the accreditation process by NBA and the prerequisites and how these are assessed. So, for the present, let us take the current academic year as CAY, minus 1 is the assessment year, minus 2 CAY M2 we call, that is current academic year minus 2. Then LYG is last year of graduation, that is the latest batch which has come out, in which year it has come out. So, that is the last year of graduation, minus 1, that is an year before that, then minus 2, a year still before that. So, we are looking at 3 batches of students who have come out of the program, who have graduated from the program. So, LYG minus 1, LYG minus 2. Then we are looking at 3 academic years, current academic year minus 1, minus 2. So, the data that is being provided is quite extensive, spans over a 6-year period. In fact, there will be 2 more years, but there will not be much data. We will see. This all looks fairly elaborate, but it is purely data. So, what are the details? Information to be provided cumulatively for all the shifts and explicit headings wherever applicable. If there are multiple shifts like evening shift and all from the same institute, provide all those details. In the year CAY minus 1, minus 2, minus 3, minus 4, which is nothing but the last year of graduation. Okay. Minus 4 is nothing but the last year of graduation. Then minus 5 year before that, and minus 6 the year before that. Okay. So, this much data the department must provide. First, N, sanctioned intake of the program as per the AICTE competent authorities. What is the sanctioned intake of the program? Then N1 is the total number of students admitted in the first year. The sanctioned intake is N. N1 is the number of students admitted in the first year minus the number of students who migrated to other programs or institutions, because it is possible that these students got admission into some other programs, they left this and they migrated to some other kind of programs. So, we have to subtract that plus the number of students who migrated to this program, maybe from some other institute or from some other program. So, effective admission it becomes, the N1 becomes the effective admission, because the students admitted minus those who left plus those who came in. Then N2 is the number of students admitted in second year in the same batch. Notice, if in the 2025-26 batch certain number of students were admitted, that is the batch of 2025-26. Then when these come to second year, the lateral entry students would come and join them. They belong to the same batch, 2025-2026 batch, but they will join in the second year. So, the N2 is the number of students admitted in second year in the same batch via lateral entry, including any leftover seats. Some institutes and some states do have regulations which permit students to be admitted in second year not only through lateral entry, but if there are vacancies arising from the first year's admissions being less than the sanctioned intake, there are vacancies, you can fill up those vacancies also. Some regulations permit that. Of course, it can vary from state to state. So, all these details are provided here. Of course, there are caps on how many such students can be admitted and all that. These are basically regulations. You have to look at the regulations of AICTE, the affiliating university and state governments, and follow those regulations in terms of the admissions and provide that data. Then N3 is separate division, if any, which in some states the promotion of the technical education required the states to make special provisions for a separate division by sharing the faculty. Most of the cases it is 0. N4 is total number of students admitted in the first year via all supernumerary quota. If an institute is performing very well, then there is a supernumerary quota. This does not come into the sanction intake numbers. This is beyond that. So, it is a supernumerary quota. Then total number of students admitted in the program, which is N1 plus N2 plus N3 plus N4. Of course, we have to exclude those admitted through multiple entry exit. This already mentioned. There is an example given. I will not go through this example, but it is fairly straightforward. And if there are any difficulties or issues with understanding this kind of table, we can discuss it in the forum. Okay. Specifically, the kind of data that has been asked for is provided here as an example. Then admission details for the program through multiple entry and exit points. As I mentioned, NEP 2020 permits multiple entry and multiple exit. So, if such a thing has happened, provide those details. Multiple entry details you provide, then multiple exit details also you provide. Entry you are adding to the student community population, exit you are subtracting from the student population. So, N5 is entry, then N6 is exit. So, you give that entire data again for the all the period. For some of the periods that would probably be zeros, because it was available only very recently, this multiple entry exit scheme. Again, a sample data is provided indicating how this information is to be provided. The same example is worked out here. See, multiple entry for the batch LYZ M2, that is 2017-18. In fact, at that time multiple entry exit was not available, but if it were available, this is how it would be. Then there is a multiple exit. So, the various numbers are given as examples. Then number of students graduated within the stipulated period of the program. This is used in one of the criteria for awarding marks, but right now we are just giving the data. Stipulated period of the program 4 years. So, within those 4 years, how many of the students who got admitted took the degree and left the institute. Notice that this does not say with backlogs or without backlogs. So, everything is included. All that matters is they entered in one particular year, within the stipulated period they graduated. Okay. So, that numbers is provided here with or without backlogs. Again an example of the data is provided here. So, this is all. So far what we have discussed is just data that you need to provide. Based on all this data, there are different criteria, sub-criteria for which marks are awarded. Okay. So far we have not discussed any of the sub-criteria. This is all just data, admission related information data. Now, we come to the first sub-criterion 4.1, enrollment ratio in the first year. There are 20 marks which are allocated to this, and the guidelines are enrollment ratio as a percentage. What is the number of students who got actually admitted? What is the sanctioned intake? Take this ratio and express it as a percentage. Average of this ratio for 3 years, CAY, CAY minus 1 and CAY minus 2 is computed. We will just show an example in the next slide. And this average enrollment ratio is used to compute what are called as enrollment ratio points, which is 20 multiplied by that average enrollment ratio. Then marks are awarded based on the ER points as shown in the table. So, this is how it is done. CAY, CAY minus 1, CAY minus 2. There are 3 year data which is provided in 3 columns. So, N is the sanctioned intake of the program in the first year as per the statutory bodies, AICTE or whatever is the authority. Then N1 is the total number of students admitted in the first year minus the number of students who migrated to other programs plus the number of students who migrated into the program. Sanctioned intake, then the actual admissions minus those who have left plus those who have come in. Now, N4 is the total number of students admitted in first year via all supernumerary quota. Then the enrollment ratio is N1 plus N4, that is essentially all students who are into the program, divided by the sanctioned intake. For each of the 3 years, you calculate them ER1, ER2, ER3, then take the average ER. So, that is the basis for awarding the marks. Okay. This is an example. In CAY, it was 100%, sanctioned intake and actual admissions full 100%. CAY minus 1, slight excess admission was there, but it is from supernumerary quota. So, it is 100.83. Then CAY minus 2, slightly less admissions, 4 students less than the sanctioned intake 120. So, the ratio is 96.67. So, if you take the average, it is 99.17%, the enrollment ratio. Then the marks are awarded based on this enrollment ratio. If it is greater than or equal to 90%, 20 marks, you get full marks. Then 80 to 90, 17 marks, 70 to 18, 14 marks, 60 to 70, 11 marks, then 50 to 60, 8 marks, and greater than or equal to 40%, 5 marks, less than that obviously 0 marks. Okay. That is the first sub criterion. Then 4.2 is success rate of the students in the stipulated period of the program. The marks allocated are 15 and the guidelines are success rate is defined as number of students who graduated from the program in the stipulated course duration divided by number of students admitted in the first year of that batch and those actually admitted in the second year via lateral entry. As I mentioned, in all engineering programs for a long time we had the practice that the diploma students can come through via lateral entry in the second year, but then they belong to the batch of students who got admitted in first year in the previous year. So, number of students admitted in the first year of that batch and those actually admitted in the second year via lateral entry, they belong to the same batch. So, we add them plus the number of students admitted through multiple entry if any and separate division if applicable, you add them, then subtract the number of students who exited through multiple exit program if any. As I mentioned, this has come into effect very recently in many of the universities. So, for most of the institutes these numbers may be zeros. Then take the average success rate as mean of the success rates for the past 3 batches. Okay. We will show an example in the next slide. Then the marks awarded would be 15 times this average SR. So, if the success rate is 100%, we get full marks 15. Otherwise, progressively the marks awarded will come down. So, This is the information, the success rate in the stipulated period of the program, and LYG, LYG minus 1, LYG minus 2. Then for each of these 3 years, success rate 1, success rate 2, success rate 3. For each year you calculate the success rate, then take the average SR1, SR2, SR3, sum it, divide by 3, you get the average rate. And then for each year the SR is calculated as B by A, that is the number of students who graduated from the program in the stipulated course duration 4 years, that is B, divided by A, which is the number of students admitted in the first year, then lateral admissions, multiple entry admissions, multiple exits are subtracted. So, we get the number of students as the denominator A. So, B by A multiplied by 100, that is the success rate. And if the value of A in the table 4.2.1 is less than the sum of the sanctioned intake N and the lateral entry including leftovers, then the value of A in the table 4.2.1 should be the sum of sanctioned intake and the lateral entry including the leftovers. So, if the value that you are getting in the denominator is much smaller, that is actually the students are not getting completely filled up, then whatever is the value, that is the sanctioned intake, whether they are filled or not. Notice that the sanctioned intake N plus lateral entry including leftover we are taking. If the admitted number of students is so less that these numbers which you are computing under A turns out to be less than this value, then we do not give advantage of that. We take the sanction intake plus lateral entry. So, if the admissions are poor, then the enrollment ratio will naturally suffer, because we are going to take the sanction intake plus lateral entry admissions N. So, this is important to consider, because sometimes some departments do ask, we have a sanction intake of 60, but we got only 40 admitted, what do we do? No, we will take 60 as the sanction intake plus any lateral entry, that is the number which is used. So, that completes our discussion of the sub criteria 4.1 and 4.2 of the criterion 4. As I mentioned, all this is purely data based. There are no processes involved, there is no subjective judgment involved. So, if the data is proper and if the data is properly backed up by the records, and if the data is complete and accurate, then we can work out actually what should be the scores that the department should be getting. So, these two sub criteria we discussed. Rest of the sub criteria we will discuss in the next unit in W8U4. Understand the requirements of SCR criterion 4, students' performance, the remaining sub criteria 4.3 to 4.7. Okay. Thank you. We will meet again in the next unit with rest of the sub criteria of criterion 4. Thank you.